God cannot be present everywhere, and thus mothers were made. You would have heard me talking about my mother on several occasions. And if you know me, I have lived my life quite courageously because I know my mother's blessings are always there for me and nothing bad can happen to me. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast, the xMonks Tribe. I'm your host, Gaurav Arora, and today's episode is quite special for me for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, it's Mother's Day special, and I believe mothers are common and should be celebrated. Reason number two, we don't have a guest today, so it's kind of an experiment for me. So let's see how it goes. A few days back, somebody called me up and asked, "Hey Gaurav, what are the lessons that you have learned from women in your life?" As I was reflecting, it didn't take me a long time to come up with the three most important lessons in my life that continue to shape me, guide me, help me in all areas of my life, whether I'm dealing with my parents' illness these days or my day to day conversations with my team members. That could be really difficult at times. Or while I'm interacting and dealing with people we serve. Let me talk about the three most important lessons that I've learned from three most important women in my life. So I'm going to talk about one lesson that I've learned from my mother, one lesson that I've learned from my teacher, Dr. Marilyn Atkinson, and one lesson that I've learned from my sister. Let's start with one lesson that I've learned from my mother. And this lesson continues to be very important for me. Now, before I even talk about that lesson, let me share this one small chapter of my life and take you to the year 2014. It was one of those evenings I came back home, and my mother, as usual, was working in the kitchen. And she was making curd. By the way, let me tell you, my mother probably makes the best curd in the world. Curd is made by mixing a yogurt starter with warm milk and allowed to ferment for some hours. I'm sure you know this. Now, during the entire process, she was reciting Waheguru, 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 Waheguru. And there I was watching my mother, and I asked, "Mother?" That's what I call my mother, by the way. "What are you doing?" I mean, it's such a simple process here. You just have to pour warm milk in the pan and leave it for a few hours, and the curd would be ready. Why are you bothering Waheguru for such a small task? I laughed. While she was doing what she was doing, she looked at me and said, "Golu," that's what she calls me. This is my way of expressing Shukrana, by the way, my way of expressing gratitude to the universe. And at no point in time it should appear to me that it has happened because of me. That stayed with me, that sentence that it's not happening because of me. मुझे ऐसा लगना ही नहीं चाहिए that it is happening because of me. And the last few years, my mother has gone through excruciatingly painful times medically. And especially for someone who has always kept herself engaged to serve others and do household chores with so much of love and care and service, I'm sure it must not have been easy for her. There have been times when it was extremely difficult for her to get up from her bed and use the washroom, but never. I mean, not even for a moment. I've seen her complaining for anything. And instead, during those times also, she has taught me, Gaurav, Shukrana kar, Gaurav, Shukrana kar. She's been a role model to me for what it means to be resilient, what it means to have patience in life, what it means to be grateful in life. So, number one lesson that I've learned, which is and continues to be the most important lesson that I've learned in my life, is Shukrana. Be grateful for everything that's happening around you. It is how it is. Accept things the way they are because there's a bigger purpose. that I might not be able to connect right now. Number two lesson that I've learned from Dr. Marilyn Atkinson. You know, my mother has given birth to me as a human being. Similarly, Dr. Marilyn Atkinson, my teacher, she has given birth to the professional I am. I've said it on several occasions. If not for her, I would not have been where I am today. She has taught me courage. I remember in those days when I started coaching, I was one of the youngest in that room full of people who came together to learn from the master herself. I remember very vividly the average experience of people in that room was more than my age. And I so felt out of the place, was dealing with my own insecurities and fears. And above that, coaching was not at all making any sense to me. I was crying. I mean, literally, I had tears in my eyes because, as I said, I could not figure out how coaching works. And I was relentlessly trying to make some sense out of those questions, those frameworks, those models, those sessions. And I remember one of those afternoons, she came to me and said, Gaurav, that's how she calls me. Gaurav, one day you'll make one of the finest coaches in the country. I don't know what did she see in me. Sometimes people can see in you that you're not been able to see in yourself. And that very moment, something shifted in. And then she said, whatever you do or dream to, begin it. Boldness has the genius, the power, and the magic in it. Begin it now. That's a quote by William Murray. So, if I were to say one thing that I've learned from Dr. Marilyn Atkinson, I would say that's definitely courage. Just begin it. And the third most important woman in my life is my sister. I remember she's always treated me like her son. Always. I mean, she loves me like her son. I don't remember, I mean, not even once, that she has said no to me for anything in my life. She would work hard, she would take tuitions and ensure that I get what I wanted. We have a gap of around 7 to 8 years, and I've always seen her living and talking about generosity. She would tell me, Gaurav, if you have it, give it to someone who needs that. She's extremely generous in all her interactions, not only with the family members, not only with her friends, but I guess with strangers as well. I've always seen her extending her hand to support others. Now, when I'm talking about my learnings from these three different women in my life, the first one is Shukrana, the second one is courage, and the third one is being generous. Now, the question is, how do I apply them in my life, both in my personal and professional space? I make a sincere attempt to live from a space of Shukrana every moment. It has become a part of my life, my daily practice, for as simple as the food that I eat, for as simple as spending time with my parents, for as simple as the breath that I take, for things that I do for my professional life, the people that I get to interact with, the friends that I have. I believe everything that I do in terms of leading sessions, coaching others, or serving others, or leading a team or running a business, it's a blessing. It's a grace that has been bestowed onto me. So express Shukrana. I ensure others that they should pick up this practice of expressing Shukrana. The second one is be courageous. Now take risk, do some experiments, trust others, invest on people. I tell people that it requires a lot of courage to take a stand for someone you genuinely care for. Take a stand for somebody. Others might not even understand why you're doing what you're doing. They might not be able to see your intentions and they might doubt you. They might not trust you. Still do it. You're not doing it for them, you're doing it for yourself. Remember, you have been a chosen one. So tell to yourself, boldness has the genius, has the power and the magic in it. Just begin it now. And when universe has been so kind to you and you have been given so much, be generous. Practice kindness. I tell people shukrana in action is equal to service. Stretch your hand and serve others. All of us are going through our own respective journeys. So the least you could do is be generous to those people. Be kind. Forgive more. You never know where they're coming from, what they have suffered in their lives, and the journey that they are going through in their lives. If you have something to offer, give it to someone who might need it more than you. Let's live a life of Shukrana and continue to express our gratitude in everything we do, everyone we meet, in all situations. I'm going to leave you with one question today. What do you think is the role your mother has played in your life? What are the lessons that you have learned from three most important women in your life? And how would you express your Shukrana? By the way, as I said, mothers are common. Please do express my Shukrana to your mother for me. Please do leave a comment and rate this podcast and help me serve you better. Looking forward to meeting you next week with another interesting conversation. Till then, stay tuned. Let's celebrate mothers. Let's celebrate humanity.